Now, as we enter the midterm period, we will go now to the contemporary arts in the Philippines per se. First, what is the significant roles of artists from the regions? Artists from the different regions of the Philippines play a very important role, first in preserving, in promoting, and enriching our national culture. Their works are not only expressions of creativity, but also reflections of the life, of the traditions, and values of their communities. Through art, they become storytellers, as what I discussed to you last time. It also bears of culture on this specific region and can be an agents of change. One of the mm, most significant roles of regional artists is the preservation of heritage and tradition. Many artists in the provinces keep alive indigenous practices such as weaving, as we can see in Benguet, pottery, in Pangasinan, in Pampanga, they're still making a pottery, a pot, wood carving, traditional music. For example, the Tivoli weavers of Lake Cebu continue the centuries old tradition of tinalak weaving. If you are familiar in tinalak weaving, which is not just a craft but also a spiritual practice connected to their identity. By doing so, these artists protect cultural memory and ensure that younger generations remain connected to their roots. Artists from the regions also serve as promoters of local identity. Through visual arts, even dance, literature, and theater, they highlight the uniqueness of their community and showcasing it to the wider world. The dances of the Cordillera, the colorful festivals of the Visayas, the epic chants of Mindanao are not just performances, but it is a celebrations of local pride. Uh, August 24 is the celebration of our town fiesta with the patron of Saint Bartholomew. And one of the highlights of our town fiesta is the Kamaru Festival, a farm croquet. No, it symbolizes the story of the farmers that even these pesticides in the farm can make a profit to sell, to make a delicious food. That's why Pampanga is well known in some, what you call this one, uh, foods that are that's not usually been served in table like this. Because regional artists reminds us that Filipino culture is diverse yet united, and that each locality contributes to the richness of our national identity. Another significant role of regional artists is their work as social commentators and educators. Many artists use their art to speak about issues affecting their communities: poverty, inequality, environment, or peace. For example, muralists. We can see a lot of murals painted, and there's a story behind. Community theater groups, where they are using the theater to express their emotions, ideas, some parts of our society. Folk musicians often create works that reflect the struggles and even aspirations of ordinary people. Because in this way, no, artists become voices for those who cannot easily be heard. And they help raise awareness and inspire action. Because artists from the regions contribute to the economic or economic and social development of their communities. Their crafts, performances, and artworks not only bring cultural pride, but also provide livelihood opportunities. Festivals that showcase local art forms attract tourism, while traditional crafts sustains small industries. In this sense, artists are not just cultural figures but also partners in development. The roles of these regional artists go far beyond creating beautiful works. They preserve heritage, promote local identity, raise social awareness, and even contribute to community development. They are reminding us that art is not only for aesthetic enjoyment, but also for strengthening culture and nationhood. By valuing and supporting artists from the regions, we ensure that the Filipino spirit continues to thrive in all its richness and diversity. In this book, the contemporary arts, no, there's this uh, poet, an essayist, and even a professional art critic named Leo Benessa. And the article is entitled "What is Philippine About Philippine Art?" When we ask what is Philippine about Philippine art, we are not only asking about where the art was made or who created it. Leo Benessa, a well-known Filipino art critic, reminds us that Philippine art cannot be defined only by geography or nationality. Instead, it is shaped by history, by culture, by the uniqueness of Filipino experience. First, Philippine art is deeply influenced by our history. For more than 300 years, when we were under Spanish rule, no, then later under the Americans, no, while also being connected to Asian traditions. Because of these many forms of art in the Philippines show traces of foreign influence, such as European style churches, classical painting techniques, or American inspired modern works. Yet Filipinos did not simply copy this. They took these influences and adapted them to local needs, even in materials and culture. For example, the bahay na bato looks like a Spanish house, but it is designed also reflects the native nipahat, built to withstand the tropical climate. Because in this way, Filipino art becomes distinct even when it borrows to or when it borrows from the outside. Second, we cannot forget our folk and indigenous roots. Long before colonization, Filipinos already expressed their creativity through weaving, wood carving, pottery, tattoos, ritual dances. These art forms are truly Philippine because they came from the daily life, spirituality, and even environment of our ancestors. Even today, we can see how these traditions inspire modern arts. A painting, a sculpture, or even contemporary fashion may borrow patterns, colors, or even symbols from indigenous designs, giving them a uniquely Filipino character. Because Philippine art reflects Filipino values and experiences. Our art often tells stories about family, about faith, and community. The spirit of bayanihan, helping one another, is seen not only in actual life but also in artworks that celebrate unity. Likewise, our struggles as a people, such as the fight for independence or the call for justice, are reflected in the works of artists who use their craft to give voice to the nation's concerns. Juan Luna, for instance, painted in the European academic style, but his themes of nationalism and social awareness made his art Philippine at its core. Even in modern contemporary times, Philippine art continues to carry a local soul. While Filipino artists explore abstract, conceptual, experimental forms, they often ground their works in social realities, even cultural symbols, or indigenous aesthetics. That this shows that Philippine art is not trapped in the past. It grows and changes while still expressing the identity of the Filipino people. Leo Benes's point is clear. What makes Philippine art truly Philippine is not just the nationality of the artist or the style of the work, but the way it expresses the Filipino spirit, our history, our traditions, our struggles, and even our aspirations. Philippine art is a living testimony of who we are as people, adaptive, creative, and deeply rooted in our culture.